Welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football, a late edition here on Tuesday night. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. He's the coach, Philip Roybal. If you love college football, you're definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame College Football. Welcome into the show,
hey, Jason.
everybody. Hey, Coach.
Hey, Jason. We know what tonight is, right? I don't give a shit Tuesday.
Well, it's good that you don't, Coach, because it's been kind of a weird day for me. Folks, we're sorry we're running a little bit late. But as Coach just said, I'll let him say it again. He just don't
give a shit.
It's, you know what? Sometimes you got to just wake up and say, I don't give a shit. And I just woke up. So good there. Here we are. So, welcome into the show, everybody. Eric Reheard, Steve B. Who we got here? Sooner Legend podcast. Everybody's been asking about you a lot there.
All right, yeah. I've been wondering where Sooner Legends was at.
Steve B and Steve B. We got two Steve B's. You got lowercase Steve B, who is our channel member and buddy from Brian Stanley. You're late, buddy. I'm an hour and a half late.
So we're right on schedule.
Don't worry. It works out just fine for I Don't Give a Shit Tuesday right here on Hall of Fame College Football. I got to tell you, I kind of came into this unprepared. We've been sitting here for the last 10 or 15 minutes, Coach and I talking about a couple of things. Decided we would talk a little bit about his Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We'll get into a little bit of stuff with Oklahoma and what they've been doing on the recruiting trail here the last few days. Yeah, building a beast, as Mars says. Welcome to the show, Mars. Appreciate you coming in. Bagman as well. Hey, folks, if you know, there's only 26 people in here, take a second, share this with somebody in your stream or in your little group of people that you hang around with online, because I know you have one, and get some people in here, help us out. All right, but we're going to talk a little bit about Notre Dame. Deuce Knight, impressive, you know, very impressive at Elite 11. You have got true freshman CJ Carr, the grandson of Lloyd Carr, former Michigan head coach, that really been impressive everybody since the start of the spring time. Kenny Minchie kind of fits that mold for a Jaden Daniels type of guy, as you have Mike Denbrock returning to the offensive coordinator position with the Irish. And then, you know, if all goes to plan, Riley Leonard should be at least one of the top contenders for the Heisman Trophy, if you're assuming that Notre Dame is going to make a run in the playoffs in now Coach Freeman's third season.
And you know, you know what's interesting is those coaches that have been really successful, won some national championships, it's been their third season, every one of them, that have really hit a grand slam. So, you know, pressure's on a little bit for Coach Freeman.
Yeah. And I think when we've talked a lot about, and I know a common theme with you and I has been, what are they going to do and what are they going to be in terms of the quarterback room offensively overall, because of the fact that that's really not. If there was any struggles the last year that you had BK there in town, it was definitely on the offensive side, even with Denbrock. You didn't have a quarterback that first year that was really going to kind of get you through anything. They've kind of made their name for themselves on the defensive side of the ball up front, playing a physical brand.
Yeah.
And even when you were able to get a guy, you know, out of Wake Forest as you did last year, things still didn't really turn out the way you were supposed to. Is this the year that you see Notre Dame finally kind of take that next step forward? And what is it going to take for that to happen, Coach?
Well, and I do. I see this being the year that we take that next step, although we're still playing a little bit of that, you know, portal rental quarterback scenario, which obviously last year the Hartman deal didn't pan out quite the way people thought it might. I was disappointed in it, but I think we're getting our quarterback room, and we all know this. The play caller, your quarterback, he's the leader and kind of sets the tone for your entire football team. And like you said, Jason, we've been lacking desperately in that area. But I feel like we finally have created, or Coach Freeman has created, a quarterback room that is pretty damn good. Just 2 seasons ago, before Riley Leonard got hurt last season against Notre Dame, but 2 seasons ago, he had a tremendous season. People were talking about him going in the NFL draft. And I think if he stays healthy, I think that we see some big offensive production out of the Irish this year. If for some reason he's not healthy, for the first time, I think we have enough depth in that quarterback room that we can go. Obviously, we have Steve Angeli, but I'm not sure he's the guy. I think he can get us through the games that we're supposed to win. But when you get on the big stage, I'm not sure he's our guy. I think that's going to be left up to Kenny Minchey and C.J. Carr. I think of a lot of the fandom leans towards C.J. Carr. But Denbrock has made the statement that Kenny Minchey feels more of looks more like Daniels that just, played great for LSU. And Minchey has got a strong arm in the spring game. Boy, he made a lot of yards with his legs. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. And then we go all the way to our 2026 class, Jason. And, we've got another big-time quarterback in Noah Grubbs. And so I think we have finally fixed that issue with the quarterback room. Now, again, after this season, I'm not sure that we're going to see all those guys in that quarterback room. You know how the portal, they're going to jump in the portal, but at least we've got a quarterback room that's deep and some guys that can help us win a lot of ball games.
Yeah. Well, and I think obviously in the automatic assumption that most people will have about quarterback rooms at this point, particularly with, NIL, the transfer portal being the way that it is that you're not going to get the depth in your QB rooms that a lot of times you would have been able to have in the past. But I would tell you that a lot of these programs that you really do expect to play for national championships, conference championships, getting into the playoff and now what is an expanded 12-team playoff, you better have more than one. And it looks to me like, and Coach I is going to be joining us in here. He's popping in right now. Coach I,
all right, Coach I.
What's up, my man? What's up, Coach?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Hey, man, listen, man. I'm feeling it today, dog. I'm live stream Lenny today, bro. Feeling good, man. Just had a good show on RTH, man. We had been gone for a while from the Dogs, man, but we just had a fire show, man. It was live on Facebook. The Facebook people was out and about today, boy. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, man. I'm like, damn, we ain't never got that many on Facebook. We like close to 500 on Facebook. I'm like, Jesus.
Wow.
Facebook today, boy. So,
hey
man.
Well, Jason, of course, you are obviously had your morning show, the new morning show, the breakfast tailgate with Coach I. I jumped on there with him this morning, and
Jason, and Stat Guy had it popping this morning, baby.
Well, and the Saturday night show was really good.
Right. I thought we did a really good job covering the ACC as a whole, umbrella cover. We didn't talk about every single team, but we hit the major points, man. I've been seeing it in the comments, man. They like the way we did that thing. So
I thought it was excellent. I watched that this afternoon, and I thought it was great.
Yeah, man. Next show is Big Ten. So, hey, we got a lot to cover in the Big Ten. It's probably going to run a little bit longer. So that's
going to be what next? Not this coming weekend. It'll be the next weekend, right? The 6th?
Right. The Saturday after the 4th. So everybody should be off work. Hey, man, have your drinks, whatever. Come in, chop it up with the fellas, man. But we had a good panel. We didn't even have everybody in. We got a panel of 8 guys for the not respected heads for the Saturday Night Snap Count this year, and we'll be rotating. But we held it down, and then we'll have a little bit more. Shout out to JJ, man. He was supposed to be on, but his little brother got pulled up to the majors, dog. That's
big time, baby.
Listen, bro, I got a former player that's been playing for about 17, 18 years now, and I just know the feeling in the major leagues, dog. That is dope as hell, bro. He had pictures from him warming up in the dugout and everything, dog. I was like, I bet he's on fire, bro.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Shout out to JJ Kitchen and his little brother, Austin, a.k.a. Kitchen, who, a big time pitcher. He's kind of moved up very fast since it didn't take him very long. I think he's been out of
I was about to say that's JJ's younger brother, dog. That's like JJ's younger brother. JJ ain't that. Ain't like he ain't our age.
No, he's a youngster too. But I think Austin maybe a year, maybe 2 out of college now, and he went to Coastal Carolina, and was in
good baseball program.
Baseball program has been really good, good. But yeah, talking a little bit about that. What a deal. I was giving JJ a hard time if you saw that on his post that he had on Twitter, where JJ's up there watching him get ready in the bullpen, and that camera was shaking. He's sitting there.
JJ was so hyped.
I hope he's as steady as you are there, JJ.
Right. JJ was over like JJ, but I would have been too, man. I would have been super hyped. Dog.
Hell yeah, man.
My little brother or my brother, you know what I'm saying, going to the major leagues, dog. That's dope, bro. It's some things in life you just can't experience. You can't talk about. You just experience it, and that's one thing I know. JJ, he'll remember that forever, man. The first time going to see his little brother pitch in the major leagues. So,
yeah, man. That's dope. And I'll tell you, the Rockies have been better over the last few years than than they typically are. But what a fantastic place to be a professional. Now, of course, for pitchers, it's kind of tough there because it's a launch pad at in Coors Field. So it's kind of a tough place to become one of those. But if you can go in there and be one of those guys, it definitely means something because, as I said, it is a launch pad in that high altitude area. But I think that it's got to be kind of What a freaking amazing time for them, right?
And guys, I got a great idea. We need to get with JJ, and we all need to get some tickets to one of the home games, and all of us go support him.
That'd be dope, bro. That'd be dope. That'd be so dope, man. You know what? Would it be good? He played for the Rockies. It'd be good if they play the Giants and we go because the guy that used to play for me, he's a backup pitcher for the Giants. I get to see both of them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you were talking about you've got a guy that's been in there for a pretty good little while, right?
Like 17 years, dog. He played for me like in 2000 and actually it might be longer than that. He played for me in 2005 and 6. And then he went on. He was a good basketball player and he played basketball for me, but he was doing AAU basketball and AAU baseball. It's when I first learned that AAU baseball really, as far as like the time it takes up, it kills AAU basketball, dog. Like baseball is like it's bananas how AAU baseball is. So, but yeah, man, shout out to Jay Jackson, man. Jay Jackson's still pumping, man. Like I say, about 17, 18 years, dog. That dude has been in it. So
that's awesome.
That's big time stuff.
Hey, man, and I'll tell you, we've all known somebody that's done something, gone a pretty good ways in professional sports or whatever, or college, maybe necessarily, but I can't imagine. Well, I can kind of, I've got a son that's, kind of been semi-professional golfer and still headed in that direction, maybe a little bit, but I don't know. Anyway, when you see these kind of things as like a family member or a good friend or something like that, it kind of takes you to a different place, right? And having been a sports writer and covered a lot of amazing athletes, you find out that they are just humans, first of all.
Right.
But I know that one of the things that I've noticed is you get to meeting a lot of their significant others, their family members, their brothers, the people that kind of helped them get to that spot. And every one of them, at a time like this, it's just like a cloud nine deal for folks like that. You know, I mean, I just sent JJ a link. I hope he pops in here. That'll be fun just to hear kind of what he's feeling right now. If he doesn't make it, that's all good. But anybody who, if you talking college football, JJ Kitchen, you can find him definitely over on Twitter. It's at JJ_Kitchen40. You should definitely get over there. Congratulate him and Austin for this really, really cool time of being able to kind of do what a lot of people dream about. You know, to be a major leaguer it's a different deal. Coach, I think you're frozen there. Are you? Can you hear me, or can I hear you? Coach, I froze up. Maybe pop out and come back in.
You've been so busy today, you froze up.
Yeah. I don't know what that was about, but yeah, I mean, to me, everybody give a little love to JJ.
Absolutely.
Hopefully he'll pop in here. So let me say hello to a couple of people that we hadn't seen here just yet. Eric, we heard, of course, Steve B, Chicken, Mars Jams, Sheila Smith, hello and welcome to the show. Sheila, Jimmy Satterfield, Trojan Fight. Oh, they're looky there. Trojan Fight is already here. I love it. Go ahead and start. Let's see how that goes. Emilio, thank you for the super chat, sir. Good Tuesday evening, fellas. Good Tuesday evening to you, Neil. Glad to see you in here. OU Boomer Sooner, thanks for coming in. This is okay. So OU Boomer Sooner, this is a channel member. So I bet this is the other Lemon, maybe. Let's see who this is. Let me know who you are. Are you new? Coach Ricks, my man. Good to see Coach Ricks in here again as well.
Absolutely.
Stat guy. Jay Jackson celebrating his 10th year in the bigs this year. Okay, cool. Stat guy, thanks for coming in, man. We appreciate that. Sooner Cowboy, Galactodon. Who else? It looks like we've said hello to everybody so far. Coach, what where we were starting to get into kind of some of this quarterback stuff. I would tell you that to me, I do feel like it's important for you to have some kind of depth there. And who you end up with is one thing. I think you're starting to find out there at Notre Dame the same way Oklahoma fans are starting to see is that you might not want to get too attached to anybody at any position because these coaches are recruiting on a level and doing what you talk about as a coach is I'm supposed to replace you every year. That is a saying at the highest of levels. That's certainly something you expect out of a Georgia football team as well, is that the level of competition just within the locker room and within these position groups themselves, if you're going to compete for a national championship, if you're going to compete at a conference level, particularly in the SEC, you better have some depth. And that quarterback room is certainly important, right?
Well, and we all know this. The quarterback room, I mean, that room is so important across the entire program because that's your guy that everybody's going to follow, whether you're offense, defense, special teams. I mean, he kind of leads the path. And if you don't have a guy that commands, the respect of the team and that they can follow, it's your team's usually not going to be very good. You look at the great football teams that have been winning, they've always had a good quarterback. And we at Notre Dame, as we all know, have not had that. And I finally feel like Freeman has got us to a point where he is recruiting those guys. And like you said, Jason, we're not going to keep all those guys. We know that those guys are going to go elsewhere to play. There's going to be one or two that are going to bounce, but we still have a good enough room overall that we're going to be fine. And, I know out of our 2026 class, we recruited another, what I think is a big-time player in Noah Grubbs. I think, adding to that room. So, we were talking about Deuce Knight a little bit, at the Elite 11. And I know that the Elite 11 picked Keelan as the MVP, but on 3, picked Deuce Knight as the MVP that Elite 11. And again, that says a lot for where Notre Dame has been and kind of where we're headed. So I'm super excited about that quarterback room and where we're headed.
No doubt. And as you said, Deuce Knight was one of those guys that a lot of different people are saying that they're super excited about what he's going to become. I think in looking at CJ Carr, to me, I don't know how you keep him off the field. If you were to have an issue with Riley Leonard at all, and Coach, I know you kind of watched him a little bit over the last couple of years and what he did at Duke. But if you see a kid like CJ Carr comes in, he spins it as well as anybody I've seen in the last couple of years around there. I know you said Minchie's kind of your backup quarterback. I don't know that guy can hold off a kid like CJ Carr if Riley Leonard wasn't able to stay healthy.
Well, and I will say this, that I know, right now, Steve Angeli's our backup, right? At this point, he's our backup quarterback. But Steve Angeli is not the guy that's going to help us win the big games. He's going to help us win those games that we should win. But I don't.
Angeli, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that. And I'm telling you, I think it could be a great battle between Minchie and Carr for the backup spot. And I tell you that even Denbrock has brought Minchie to the forefront and said he reminds him a lot of Daniels in many ways. And so again, I think that's pretty big statement coming from Denbrock about Minchie. And Minchie kind of is the forgotten quarterback in that room. And everybody's talking about CJ Carr. But Minchie's got some talent. He can spin it. He runs the ball very well.
With things the way they are, Coach, you think you hold on to all of them, going into next season? Because that's a lot of talent in that QB room, man.
No, I don't think we do, and that's what I was alluding to earlier, Coach. Is I don't think that'll happen. I think first of all, I think we'll lose Angeli. And, it is what it is. And we could lose either Minchie or Carr, depending on how that plays out this season.
Right. Because I expect y'all to have a good season, with the talent y'all got and the schedule. And I don't know, one of those guys is going to be the backup, and the rest of them are going to be, looking for some PT.
Well, Coach, you know this. It's always such a strategic plan, especially now with the portal. It's so strategic in who is the backup and who, because again, you're going to lose. You're going to lose one of those guys, either Minchie or Carr, probably Angeli for sure. But you're probably going to lose one of those two others as well.
Yeah, that's the reason why these coaches out here be like, oh, yeah, we don't know who's, it's still a competition. It's not really a competition in their minds, but they got to keep them on the hook as long as they can, too.
You got it.
Wow.
So,
Coach, somebody had asked, or I think Neil had asked just a second ago, who is the quarterback coach? Who is the quarterback coach there at Notre Dame? I know that Denbrock obviously returned to become the coordinator. But
I call him Coach G.
You're going to have a handful with quarterbacks. So here we go.
Gino Gaduli. Yeah. I just call him Coach G, but Coach Gaduli, and he's done a good job. He does a good, and he's done a good job in recruiting these quarterbacks. So I've been pretty impressed with that.
No doubt. Wow. That I just kind of saw this little news item. Jim Schlossnagel, the head baseball coach at Texas A&M, who just lost Tennessee in the World Series.
Did you see what he said last night?
To Texas, yes, after he railed on that freaking reporter for asking the question.
Right, talking about this is the place I want to be. Like a couple of hours later, he in Texas as the coach. Like you literally just like I saw somebody on Twitter say if I was their reporter to ask the question and he tried to call him out for the question, he said I'd write a hit piece on him.
Believe that
for real. Like you're gonna try to embarrass me in front of everybody and then turn around and do exactly what I was asking you about.
Right. Wow.
And J-Day, who is our resident Texas troll that's in here at the moment, actually, he says we want the SEC and we will get it. And then he was saying what he said, for Texas A&M, we get what we want. Well, you're gonna get what you're gonna get what you get this year. That's for sure. You get Georgia, and of course you get Oklahoma. So we're gonna see how far all this chitter chatter that we're getting out of the Austin area goes this season for as far as a lot of that stuff. Oh, is Numbnuts in here too? Oh, Numbnuts Jr. That's what Neil just called him.
Jason, Trojan Fight had asked me a question before my time ran out. He said, what did I make of the recent commit Isaiah Gibson sporting the USC gloves today? He was trolling USC because he threw up the whatever y'all call it, the piece of the deuce or whatever, and he was like, this kind of gay. He was like this time of day, you know what I'm saying? So he was definitely trolling. A USC fan commented on the post and said, God, what happened, in Southern Cal to make him dislike us that much to be trolling us like that? I don't know what went down. I don't know. All I know is he's a dog for now. Signing day, we'll see, but I'm pretty sure he's going to stay a dog. But yeah, for sure, Trojan Fight trolling the Trojans.
Culture.
So absolutely, and we talked a little bit on that show that we did with Ty and Around the Table Sports yesterday that when Kirby Smart, when it comes to Georgia, with the Georgia Bulldogs, and particularly on that defensive side of the ball, you can say whatever you want about UGA as far as what happens with quarterbacks there, But I would tell you that I said this before. When there's a defensive guy from that state in particular, Kirby puts a wall up around the state, and good luck getting them out of there.
Right? Trust if you get him to sign, it was a straight fight to the death for sure. So
yeah, look, and I think when it comes to Lincoln Riley, Coach, you look like you're frozen. What's going on here? Oh no, you're there.
No,
okay,
he's there. He's good.
He just was in one position for a while there, holding their coach like this. So.
You're right.
I was reading some stuff there.
But no, man, you're right. It's definitely on the decent defensive side of the ball, but now it's even starting to happen with some of the offensive guys. Like, hey man, shout out to Florida State for getting CJ Wiley today. But if anybody watched the commitment, y'all know it's not over. Kirby is definitely not like we wanted that. I'm not gonna lie, like we wanted CJ Wiley like bad. You know what I'm saying? Like in-state guy, dad played at LSU, but they're from Georgia, state of Georgia. He shocked his parents even. If you look at their facial expressions during his commitment, they thought he was either going LSU or Georgia, more so Georgia. And then after the commitment interview, he was like, well, I'm committed to Florida State for now, but my recruitment is still open. Because Kirby doesn't care if you're committed to Georgia, not to Georgia. If you're Georgia, especially if you're in-state, that's going down to like right when you fax in the paper.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's easy to, and Trojan Fight's probably not going to like this because obviously we've said what we've said when it comes to USC in the past, but nothing that we say here is wrong. I tell you that, it's easy to say that I'm just sitting here trolling and stuff like that, but I got to tell you, it's one thing for them to not get Isaiah Gibson, to not get Justice Terry, because as I said, Kirby's going to put the wall up around Georgia, and if he wants a defensive player, good luck with that. But when it comes to quarterbacks, and we're talking about Juju Lewis, of course,
right.
If he doesn't end up at Auburn, which it looks really like he may end up at Auburn, but it's starting to look like CU could have some kind of angle to get to him, right?
Right.
If you're Lincoln Riley and you're now not getting quarterbacks, the guys that you want, what does that say about where you are as a program and as, particularly as a program going into a Big Ten that really doesn't suit the way the USC is to me?
Like what I would like to see, you remember Jason this morning on the morning show, we had Bumbo in there, a USC fan, and he said he thinks, as a USC fan, he thinks Juju is gone. Trojan Fight, that would be my only question. How do you feel? Do you feel like Juju's gonna flip? Because I mean, it seems like the writing's on the wall almost. And like I say, Bumbo was almost like, yeah, he's gone.
I mean,
that's tough if they lose a quarterback, though, bro. Like
I heard Juju kind of basically say that it concerned him why they're not getting defensive guys. He sounded to me like he wants to play for a team that's going to have more of an opportunity to win it.
I got you. I don't know, man.
And you brought this up on your show too, or I brought it up and you kind of backed it up of, look, when you don't want to play SEC schools, you're getting rid of SEC series, and I don't care what anybody says about that. That was not a mutual decision. That was USC deciding not to play the Ole Miss game. But you're recruiting SEC area kids and not wanting to play against those opponents. That's tough because not everybody's. I mean, that's a long ways away for people to be able to come and see their kids play, right?
Right. Yeah. You brought that up this morning, and yeah, like you say, we talked about it. Like when you're from the South, even getting NIL, you know what I'm saying, you can fly your parents out to the game, but if you don't want to play some of those games are like, I remember my nephew signed with Louisville in 2014. Of course, everybody here in South Carolina was looking at the schedule like, okay, who do they play in the Southeast? None of us went to Syracuse. You know what I'm saying? Well, he played at Syracuse. Like nobody went to Syracuse. Nobody went to Boston College. Everybody was waiting on the Clemson game, on the North Carolina game, on the Florida State game, because regardless of what's going on, it's hard to you only get 4 tickets as a player, people. Like that's how many tickets you get to give out, unless you trade with some teammates, whatever it is. And then you gotta the family has to travel. So if Lincoln doesn't want to take on the Ole Misses and LSU is going to be in Vegas, but Ole Miss was a home and home. So, some of them people might have been like, hey, bro, we ain't going to get to go to Ole Miss. Like Ohio State ain't around the corner. Michigan ain't around the corner. So, not to mention flying out to Southern Cal. And then with Juju, I didn't see the comments, but if you're saying that Juju's talking about having basically a complimentary team and wanting to try to win it all.
Right.
Ooh. That's gonna stand. We already know Hugh Freeze is a hell of a recruiter, so
if he's
in the air and he's wavering at all. Ooh.
Well, let's just let's look at it this way. I mean, just coming from the perspective of an Oklahoma fan, and then we've got a lot of guys that we know that are Texas fans too. You get an immediate recruiting bump just by going into the SEC if you're Oklahoma and Texas. So there's a built-in. If for no other reason, there is a built-in advantage to being an SEC program, period. If you're, sure. And then with Hugh Freeze, I mean, he's a guy that he was able to beat Nick Saban twice at Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
Lane Kiffin, for everything everybody says about old Lane, he hadn't done it yet,
right?
And knowing what he knows. But Coach, and I would probably ask you the same thing. Obviously, you have a lot of love for USC, so how would you characterize what's going on there as well? I mean, does it look like a chink in the armor to you when you start seeing wavering quarterbacks and guys jumping ship there?
Guys, there's a lot of chink. There's a lot of chink in the armor. I don't see things getting better there until they make a change. And guys, I'm not against Lincoln Riley. Hell, Lincoln Riley grew up in Muleshoe, Texas, and as a matter of fact, I grew up in Perryton, Texas, playing the Muleshoe Mules. So I was proud of where
Lincoln.
I was proud of what Lincoln had accomplished coming out of Muleshoe, Texas. But at the end of the day, I tell you, I think Lincoln has run his course.
That's right. And as a head coach?
As a head coach, yes. As a head coach, he's run his course, and he'd be great probably as an offensive coordinator somewhere.
I think so because he wouldn't have to worry about that. Some people are just better served as coordinator. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. He's got the bag. The kids say, he's gotten the bag.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Well, they still
only thing stopping him from being a good OC is his pride.
Sure. Well, and we all know this, guys, is there's certain skill sets you have to be a successful head coach. And you don't have to have those same skill sets to be the OC or the DC. And I think Lincoln, he would do great, but like Coach I said, it's that pride sometimes that eats us up. And so, but I think he's a good football coach. I just don't think he's a head football coach.
Right. So Trojan Fight said that Juju's commitment staying at USC was going to come down to Jakeem Stewart. Well, according to On3, LSU is the 90%, forecast getter for him, and then Alabama is 3.1 and USC is 1.8. If you're battling Alabama and LSU for a defensive line guy, good luck. That's all I can say. Good luck. I'm not saying you're not going to win it, but good luck, bro. Like I'm be honest, when Georgia's going for a defensive lineman, I don't like to see LSU and Alabama on his top 3 or 5 or whatever. I'd rather not battle them for a recruit if possible. I just say good luck. So I just don't say the odds don't look like they're in your favor if that's the guy he wants to play with. Because
I think if that is the case, and I don't know how much I buy into that, but it's because none of that should really, if you're a quarterback, and this is what I'll say about Lincoln when it comes to that kind of stuff. If you're a quarterback, you should
want to play for Lincoln, right? You should want to play for Lincoln, right?
Except for kind of. But we talked about this a little bit before, Coach High, is like we know that Caleb Williams really learned to read like half the field, and he didn't look better the year after winning the Heisman. He looked like he regressed a little bit to me. There's always been a question about what happened to the quarterbacks at Oklahoma and whether whether he really developed them or if they were fairly developed once they got there. And all he really had to do was just put them in a scheme that was going to suit them. I think that Lincoln is the best there is when it comes to scheme. I'll just say that. Yeah. I think scheme-wise, as an offensive guy, nobody's better than Riley.
That's what I'm saying. So, and then you put the offensive, the scheme IQ with what you've seen on the, 3 Heismans, 3 first-round number 1 picks.
Correct. So even that alone would make you think that you would get that kid,
right? Like locked down, like stop even, like he shouldn't even be taking, like if my son, I'm be honest, like I look at those kind of things. When my nephew, wide receiver at South Carolina, was getting recruited, everybody's like, you want him to go to Georgia, don't you? I'm like, I would love him at Georgia, but if we talking pick of the litter, I would love for him to go to Ohio State because he's a slot receiver. So I'm like, they put guys in, top 5. Like,
absolutely.
As a parent, like
Brian Hartline right now is that guy when it comes to receiver,
right?
Talent.
So like, if my son's a quarterback, top tier, like who you convincing me, other than Lincoln Riley? Like again, 3 Heismans, 3 first-round number 1
picks, yes.
Yeah,
we're talking about crazy money, number 1 picks as opposed to 2nd, 3rd round, dog. Like, and then now you're wavering. Like, my son wouldn't even be taking more visits. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, nah, dog. We good. We got
right.
We got the Heisman guru. We good. We don't need to see nobody else's campus.
But let me ask you this: having seen what you've seen out of USC and seeing what you're seeing right now, where you are in a position where look, their offensive line hasn't been great either. I mean, Caleb Williams was running for his life last year.
Right.
We know that. We saw the way that even with the running back that they had, which you talked about that a lot. We are averaging 10 yards a carry with the best running back. According to PFF, he was the best guy. That's you could question that if you want to, but he wasn't getting enough touches to keep your quarterback upright. Even would this concern you if you had a quarterback kid? Would that put you in a maybe a different thought pattern than what you're saying?
Right. You right. Seeing Caleb run for his life a lot or trying to be out there saving the day all the time, I would think about that. Look at it would definitely, as a parent or a concerned family member, I would like question why are all these people decommitting, even if they're on the defensive side. It's like, what's going on? Like, what are we doing? This is Southern Cal here. As far as like towns to live in, what are we talking about? It's Southern Cal, like, bro. It's like 80 degrees every day all year. Like, I know it's a long. I've been to LA and Southern Cal and UCLA. That area is just like, what's not to like other than 6-lane traffic? but he ain't really got it. He ain't really got to deal with that. So that I'm not saying it did. I don't have any info or intel, but seeing those guys decommit couldn't have helped the situation. Couldn't have helped.
No,
the
I
situation.
think so too.
No.
And Coach, I would ask you kind of the same thing. Now, obviously, you looking at it from the Notre Dame perspective, you guys put your foot on Caleb Williams' neck last year, and played. I think if I'm a USC fan, I look at that game and I'm like, that's how we want to play. And I think that a lot of USC fans are like that. They're used to seeing a defense-led, nasty Trojan team that, yes, they are explosive on the offensive side, but they are led by defense. Now, I do like I do like their defensive coordinator. I think D'Anton Lynn is proven to be a really good coach. You look at Coach Henderson and, his experience working with, the NFL on that defensive line, but the depth there is a problem. And you're going into a knock you in it's a, another in the trenches league, as we talk about with the SEC. What are your thoughts about SC, and even trying to come from more of an angle, not just as a fan, but if you're looking at SC from the other side of it, Coach, what would your thoughts be there?
Well, and again, I just think that, again, like you said, Notre Dame, we got after Caleb pretty hard last year. Probably one of his worst games of his career.
He did.
But again, you got SC, just like Coach I was saying. You got a beautiful place to recruit to. You got a lot of positive things there at SC. But once again, I'm just, and I know I'm beating a dead horse, but I just don't think at the end of the day, Lincoln is the guy to take them to where they want to be. I think they need to make a change in head coaching position to get where they want to be. And again,
football being what you're talking about more.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about this on one of the shows before. Is you got to have complementary football. I think he's hired some great defensive coaches, but just because you hire great defensive coaches, with the offense the way Lincoln has always done it, it's not going to help much to get those good coaches in there.
I guess that would be the question that I have is he willing to make that change to his offense?
I don't believe he is.
More complimentary.
Well,
you have to prove it. Whether he says he is
what's
or not,
his track record? What's his track record to this point? His track record says no, he's not going to change.
Right.
Fact.
I honestly, guys, I believe this, and I could be 100% wrong, but I truly don't believe Lincoln Riley will be at USC next season. After this season.
Hold on, but I always, every time somebody says that, I want to hit the pause button because they're going to owe him at minimum.
I think you said. I was about to say. I thought you said 80 million. The other
I think it's going to be 80. Ryman and Trojan Fight, you might know better on what the actual numbers are. I was pretty sure it was 110 million. This is his third year, so that would put him at 80 at the end of this year if it was 110, right? And he's a $10 million a year guy.
So the question becomes, do you want to keep getting your ass kicked? And I mean, or do you want to go ahead and pay him off and move on? Guys, let's be honest.
Yeah.
The more we rock along here in college football, paying off a coach at $80 million, it's kind of become, hell, let's get rid of him and move on.
That's a good point, Coach. It might at some point people you know what? It's all paper. Let's just pay him.
Yeah, pay him and get. I mean, hell, A&M guys. We go back to A&M. We saw what happened there, and I tell you what, I truly believe. I truly believe that USC is one of those programs. They're a blue blood that really they want to still be successful, and I think they'll pay up and say let's move on. Because this is a failure. I mean, at the end of the day, let's call it what it is. It's a failure.
Right. Coach, I got a question for you. What game on the schedule this season do you think could be like a trap game type deal for Notre Dame? For Notre Dame, Georgia Tech. Okay,
Georgia Tech.
They bring back a lot on offense. They bring back a lot on offense, though. Like I think I want to say like 80%, if not 90% of their production, but they lost a lot on defense. So
defense, they lost a lot on defense.
You could see yourself in. Was that game at Georgia Tech or at Notre Dame?
I believe that one's at Georgia Tech, if I'm correct, but I'm not 100%.
But secondary wise, you guys are in great shape, though, Coach. Don't you think?
Yeah. I think we have a great secondary. Yeah. No, I think we're good secondary wise, but I just think, Coach I's point, if there's a game in there that could be a trap game, I think that's the trap game for us. Because some of those,
it's at Georgia Tech. Yeah, it's at Georgia Tech right after Stanford before
Stanford. Yeah, and so I think that could be a trap game. We should win it. But again,
you'd have to be a hell of a trap there because
they got some good offensive minds.
Stanford and Navy. That's really the only of those three games that you should.
Right, but Notre Dame Stanford is kind of a thing, though. You know what I'm saying? It's not USC.
That's always been
it's kind of a thing. So you could spend a lot of emotional energy on that and then have to go to Atlanta. They don't have, like 50,000 in the stadium. If it's a noon game, kind of hard to get up. Like I say, and Georgia Tech actually has some good offensive minds on that offensive side of the ball. You got Buster Faulkner, Chris Winkie, and they bring, again, with all that returning experience, it could turn into a shootout that you don't want. You know what I'm saying? You definitely don't want a team with less talent than you in a shootout late in the third quarter, early in the fourth. You know what I'm saying?
And I agree, Coach I. And you bring up a great point. No matter how bad Stanford is, it always seems like it comes down to the wire. I mean, they can be horrible. We can be horrible. I mean, either way. And it always seems to be a dogfight.
Right. I mean, I'm looking at the schedule. I think you guys got more talent than everybody on the schedule except for Florida State, maybe tied with them, if not better. Maybe Texas. I don't know what's left.
A&M A&M has talent. That's not been the issue at all.
Right, and it's a night game. It's a night game with the 12th man. So,
correct.
Hey, listen. According to EA Sports, it's the hardest place to play. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how they figured that, but
Coach I, and I will just tell you this: as much as I don't believe in Aggie or Aggie Land and what they do down there, I'll tell you this: if you've never been to a game at Kyle Field,
it's a cult.
It's definitely it's a weird cult, right? It's just such an odd place. Outfit Ags, but it. I've been to two games inside of Kyle Field, and the stadium literally will wave back and forth itself. Is they're doing their little thing. It's super loud. The time that I was in the press box, I hated that worse because I felt like the son bitch was going to come out from underneath us. I'm serious. I did not like it.
And not to go in that direction, tough place to play to me means, yes, loud, but you also have to win. Tough place to play means it's tough on opponents to win. And they're not even in the top 15 of home field win percentage. So it's like, how are they a tough play? Just because you get loud doesn't make it tough.
Well, and let me say this, guys. And let me say this. And you guys know this because you play. All of us have played in loud stadiums, and as a player, I can honestly say, the louder the stadium, the least I heard. My focus as a player, and y'all were probably the same way. Your focus becomes a lot greater on the ongoing game itself than hearing all the noise. So just like to your point, Coach I, just because it's loud doesn't make it a tough place.
Right, and I think a lot of times these lists get it confused. I'm with Trojan Fight. It's hard for A&M to win at home. Yeah,
but everywhere it's hard for A&M to win. To be fair about that, it's hard for A&M to win anyway. Their winning percentage. We talked about it this morning on your show. They hadn't won a national football championship since 1939. So and their winning percentage since then probably I would say is within a point or two of itself, whether it's been in the Southwest Conference, the Big 12, or now the SEC. That's just who Aggie is. They are an 8-4, 7-5 team all the time. I would say that when you have to go in and deal with that, we saw Alabama lose to them a couple of years ago on their field. You know, we saw Kevin Sumlin, they'll do it in Tuscaloosa too. So it's not like it's undoable. But my thing is, yeah, it's a tough place to go win for an opponent.
I would go more loud. Loudest stadiums, yes.
I guess it depends on how you look at it. But for an offense, though, if you're somebody who maybe you need to check out of something, and what I would tell you also is that because of the fact that they are going to be a defensive-minded team, if you're coming in and you're an offensive unit and you need your quarterback to be able to change a play or check out of something, it could make it hard on you in that instance. I think that what they have still along that defensive line, they added a lot of pieces in the secondary. I'm going to tell you, I think A&M is going to be, if they're going to do anything this year, I like their offensive pieces, but it'll be on the defensive side of the ball anyway, which would really make it hard to win there.
And I think that first game would rank in the toughest places to play on the road, just because it's the first game. A&M's focusing on Notre Dame and Notre Dame only. And to be honest, you got Elko film from Duke, but you don't have Elko film with the kind of players that A&M has. You got a lot of Freeman film. It's the same. Like I feel like it's the same thing that happened to TCU with Colorado last year. It's like, Colorado is just like one game, let's show the world type deal. And I get it. 12th man could be hard for Lincoln, like Riley Leonard coming in. I'm trying to think of but he's played in some big stadiums. So
I
he played Clemson at home. So you're right.
That's true. Yeah, and as Stat Guy said, if you want to talk about tough places to play, they've lost 3 games.
Oh, big facts. Big facts. Yeah, 3 games at home since 2014.
But I tell you this, guys, and I love Mike Elko. I think he's a great football coach. I think that you're giving him a lot of talent that he hasn't had. And what he did at Duke was incredible. But I will say this. Again, it takes time, especially with the culture that was there at A&M. Guys, you don't just flip the switch because you're a great coach and you come into a program and flip the switch. I know the Vegas odds are right now. I think that they're a 1-point favorite in the game, and some are even. But I'm going to tell you this, and not because I'm a Notre Dame fan, because I am, but I truly believe we win that game by 10, and it's because the reason I believe that
roster
is going. I think you go back and you just look defensively. They're going to be good. We are too.
Right.
And I think our offense is going to be better than their offense at the end of the day. And our defense, I think, will hold up perfectly fine against their defense. And again, there's some time, there's changes that are occurring there. We've already been through those changes. We're in our 3rd year of those changes. And I think we're just ahead.
Right, and it's going to all hang on to if Connor Wegman can ever be what they think he can be.
Yes.
Like, I mean, there's a lot of prognosticators that saying, "Oh, he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC." But I mean, listen, man, until you do it, we always say we got to see it. You know what I'm saying? And it's a big game to start the season.
They've been talking about their backup a lot though too, and he's a dual threat kind of guy. Trying to remember his name at the moment, but.
And I go back.
There could be an issue with Wegman keeping the job over him because he's been that much of a pain in the ass in spring and everything else. But the only thing that I would say in favor of A&M here, and this is the only thing I would say, I don't know what they're going to be like on offense. The year that the COVID year when they went and they played in the Orange Bowl, it was because Elko was the defensive coordinator there, and they were definitely led by that defense. It was not any other thing but that defense. It almost looks to it, the next couple of years kind of made you feel like maybe that was because of Elko, not because of Jimbo and what they were doing there overall, because they certainly kind of fell off the map after that, right? That would be the what I think about it. That being said, go ahead.
I was gonna say the players for Notre Dame. If we somebody commented on like how many loud stadiums had Notre Dame played in. If you're talking about like the last 2 years, guys on the roster, I guess that could be an advantage, for A&M because Notre Dame players have only played at Clemson. If you're talking about like noise level, what I'm saying, like
it's road places,
right, road places. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I guess they did play at Virginia Tech in 2021. If some players are still left from the team, I know Virginia Tech gets really loud. At Florida State, probably really loud, but Clemson is probably the closest. You know what I'm saying? To what they'll see in the 12th man. And I think Clemson gets loud, but I think the 12th man will be louder. But
sure.
I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be enough to turn the tides for them.
I don't believe. I really truly don't believe that's going to be enough to turn the tide. And here's the other thing, guys. You know what? I've been to games at A&M, and you know what? You could hear a rat pissing on cotton when you're kicking their ass. So
that always plays a big part in the crowd, right?
Absolutely. So you can turn that water off pretty quick if you just jump up on them.
Listen, man, when Tennessee scored on Georgia last year at Tennessee, the first play of the game, it was like, the loudest stadium ever in history until, we rolled off 21 straight. And it's like,
I hear you.
Fans are heading for the exit. So I get it, dog. I got Notre Dame in that game, though.
I've got Notre Dame winning it as well. I think it's probably Notre Dame's, to me, it's probably their toughest game, aside from you do go on the road at SC no matter what. Anybody says that's a rivalry game, you don't know how that's going to turn out. It's at SC. Although I would say if we're talking about loud stadiums, it isn't there. It'll be louder from the Notre Dame side than anybody else if that's going to go down. But
I'm interested in that Florida State game at home, though.
The Florida State game.
Florida State.
How do they bounce back and all that is going to be a lot to it. At that time, they will have played some big games already.
Right.
So are they in a situation where you've kind of punted on the season, or are they in a situation where, they're back in the thick of the college football playoffs?
Playing with confidence.
ACC championship, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Hey.
Let's see. At that point, let's see. Florida State will beat them, play Clemson, Miami.
Hold on.
Listen, to be honest with you, I'm looking at Florida State's schedule. If they beat Georgia Tech opening week, Boston College, Memphis,
SMU
Cal,
on the road is the tough one.
SMU's road is going to be a tough. But if they somehow pull off a victory against Clemson, I don't see why they couldn't be one loss or undefeated rolling into the Notre Dame game.
Agreed.
Like if they beat Clemson.
I don't, and
I don't think they're beating Clemson.
I don't think they beat Clemson. I don't.
Hurry up and make your comment to that because I don't.
Okay. And I wanted to make my comment. Texas. Tell me about all your successes. Just because you had a good year last year, before that you haven't done shit in forever, and so I don't even want to hear that bullshit. That is Texas. Texas still sucks. So that's all I got to say.
Finally returned.
Yeah,
your brand.
And I tell you what, I know people are already looking at Texas being in, the top 4. Them some bitches are going to take some ass whoopings this year. So that's all I got to say.
Yeah. Hey, look, I've been saying 9-3, 8-4. There's other people saying even worse than that, but I think that at best they go 9-3. I could definitely see 8-4. There's just some landmines on the schedule. They don't have the toughest SEC schedule.
No, they don't.
I think that them going on the road in week 2 and having to deal with Michigan. Look, what Michigan didn't lose is their depth when it comes to in the trenches, in particularly their secondary. If there's a better secondary outside of Ann Arbor, it's probably going to be in places like maybe Georgia or obviously Ohio State. You know, and I would say that there's probably a handful of other schools that, I mean, I like Oklahoma's secondary, by the way, but you're going to have to, but that's the strength of that football team is going to be there. If Texas is not any more smash mouth than we know that they're not, that we know they're not going to be, if they go in as soft as they did in certain games last year, like against Washington, you're going to lose that game. I don't give a shit who plays quarterback, because you know what Sherrone Moore's going to do? He's going to take the air out of the ball and run over your ass.
Well, that dude likes to run the ball more than Harbaugh.
Right. Yeah. And if you're Michigan, that's what you want to do, is ugly the hell out of that game. Get pressure on Quinn, get him worried, you know, because Quinn's pretty fragile there. And I dare you to put Arch Manning in. If I'm Sherrone Moore, I'm like, we're going to beat the shit out of this guy. You know? Right. We're going to make it nasty. We're going to make it a tough place environment for everybody involved, and we're going to see. We're not just going to let you come out here and turn it into a finesse game. And so that's where Texas is always back. Yeah,
Fisherman says Michigan does have 5 new O-line. It takes, time to gel. Listen, I don't disagree with that, and I don't say a lot of good things about Michigan, but I will say the one team that's been stopping Georgia from getting the Joe Moore Award as of late has been Michigan, and I that's not always 5 guys returning. I think they do a good job with offensive linemen, along with like Joe Moore has always been pretty much between 3 schools, really. I mean, let's just keep it real. It's been, Washington won it last year, but really it's been between OU, Georgia, and Michigan. So I wouldn't doubt that they can get that O-line together. I'm not saying it will be, but listen, I'm not putting that as a negative on Michigan.
Well,
if they can do one thing, they can do O-line. Yeah.
Right. They lost a number of guys, and particularly starters, but depth-wise, I don't think that people really realize how much of that depth they had and why. That's probably why they won the Natty. If you think of, they really won the Natty because Georgia didn't get there, didn't get into the playoff. But aside from that, I would say, look, that was the strength of their team, is the fact that they had depth on both lines, the defensive line, the offensive line. Their defensive secondary, I love their secondary, but I think that where they built that team on the line of scrimmage.
Well, teams that vie for the Joe Moore and are good at running the ball, they normally play 8 to 9 offensive linemen. So just because those guys didn't start doesn't mean they didn't play.
Correct.
Like a lot of those guys got heavy snaps. I know you don't get to see it because we always see the wide receivers and the running backs running in and out of the game, but they're like the linemen change up as well. Like they get different snaps. They get a lot of snaps too.
Yeah. But that's why we talk about having competitive depth all the time. Take a drink, everybody.
Right.
It's because you got to have depth, and it's always in that area. That's where you need to have it the most, right? Is along the lines of scrimmage. In a line of scrimmage league like the SEC or the Big Ten. We've been saying a lot lately when it comes to Notre Dame. The reason that I like Notre Dame the most, I wouldn't quarterback-wise, I think they still have a question. I think they're better at receiver. You know why I like them? Because they're physical as hell.
They've shown that the last 2 years, man, just being straight physical. That's how they beat Clemson.
Physical.
Yes. Well, and that's come under Freeman, guys. He's changed that mentality, and their practices are about competition, and he's changed that mentality of being a more physical football team. We need.
Right, Trojan Fight says they lost their safety. Are we talking about Michigan? Lost their safety?
I did see that. They're starting strong safety, I believe it is. That's
going to hurt in the run game a little bit, as far as the experience. Then they still got Will Johnson at corner, so we won't be throwing at him. So that's one side of the field shut down for Texas or whoever else is playing Michigan. So, and like Jason alluded to, I think Sherrone Moore is going to do more running than Harbaugh did and take the air out of the ball. So you're going to have to score on that defense, because running the ball, even with the new clock rules, still takes a lot of time off the clock. So
facts. There's no two ways around that.
They still got, what's his name, Donovan Edwards at running back. So
yes,
You can't stop that. Oh, Rob Moore. Yeah, that's Michigan safety.
Yeah.
Towards ACL. Ooh,
Yeah,
see,
I just saw that.
listen, man, this
That
is
ain't
why I'm
good.
all, Jason,
That's big.
like you just said it, man. Competitive depth. This is why I'm saying this is why I say that, man, because you have one guy go down and you ain't got no competitive depth.
Right.
And that can change the whole trajectory of your team, man.
Well, and again, guys, and you guys know this. Obviously, Georgia, Oklahoma. You look at those teams, and it's the depth that keeps that team going throughout the season. Because and especially in the SEC, if you don't have depth, you're not you're going to start off at the bottom of the SEC if you don't have depth.
Right. And it's a long season, and it just got longer with the new playoff format if you're one of those teams. But 12 games, it's that's a long season when you
long time.
That's a tough one because he's a 3-year starter.
Right.
And when you talk about the run game and stuff like that, I mean, that's going to be big for that.
You're not even talking about his physical talents, though. You're talking about his knowledge of the game and getting everybody lined up in the right position, calling out all the coverages and things of that nature.
Yeah,
that's tough on Michigan.
They do get Quentin Johnson back for his 6th year, though. He left out of the draft to get back in for 6th year. They do have Zeke Berry and Brandon Hillman would be those two guys that they've played a lot over the last few years as well. So as much as I like who Rod Moore is, and he's that guy there. Again, they do have depth. That was what that team was built on. They're not a team that was going to wow you in terms of any one recruiting class where you're like, son of a bitch, right? They just kind of snuck up on you with a lot of dudes that were in that 4, 5, 6 year range already. So they had experience. They do things a different way. That's a tough game for Texas right away. The rest of the way, you've got a few stretches for Texas that are going to be tough. You've got Oklahoma, and then the next week, Georgia, hosting Georgia. And then coming down the stretch, you're going to end up dealing with Texas A&M as well. And that's a renewal of a rivalry in College Station.
Right.
A lot of shit on the line.
So,
I go back.
Go ahead, Coach.
No, I was just going to. Sorry, Coach. I was just going to say, going back to A&M, and we're playing them week 1, and I'm damn sure glad we're playing them week 1 instead of week 10, because I think they'll be a better football
12,
team.
13. Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. And quickly jump back on Michigan. Like, I know you talked about those guys that's played a lot of snaps, but they also, in the transfer portal, if I'm not mistaken, Keon Saab was the safety there that was backing up Rod Moore, or played the free safety more. So I would say he's now at Alabama. So that was in the transfer portal. So, and he was big time, original Clemson 5-star commit out of IMG, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Keon Saab's bad dude.
Right. And so, like, I don't know, man, that's not good to be losing these guys this early. I'm telling you, man, the injury bug. And see, this is what happens. You lose a Rod Moore, and Texas gets them early in the year. So while Michigan may have been, I'm not saying one guy changes that whole game, but he could make, that could be some impact to it, though. And then you wonder at the end of the season how teams end up in the playoffs and a chance at a natty. It's not always because every single week you was the best team. It's like, hey, man, things have to go your way, dog. It's hard to win a natty, dog. Like, it's hard, but things going your way. Things going your way, though. Things going your way. You need that.
Well, think about. I would tell you this though. When you look at if we're going to get into Texas talk, and we're going to do that, I'll pull up their schedule and we can talk about where these landmines to be and why I think that 8-4 is not out of the realm of possibility and all that. But before we even get into that, let's just remember something and something that is being said right here. Can you imagine if OU lost the production that Texas did, the amount of doubt and BS that you would get? And he's not wrong, because think about this. Their top 5 pass catchers, which includes their best running back in that mix. We're talking A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Jatavion Sanders, Jordan Whittington, and Brooks are all gone to the draft.
Right.
That's one thing. I think that they replaced their skill guys in there with some kids that I like. Isaiah Bond, Amari Nyblack, but apparently Amari doesn't know the playbook if you're listening to Alabama people. that came from Ty, and then they said that was an absolute issue with him, that he just kind of freelanced because he didn't know what the plays were.
Well, he is going
I know that Sark will not put up with that
what's
shit.
his name? The offensive coordinator that Alabama had to Sark.
Tommy Rees. Yeah.
Rees. Yeah. He is going from Rees to Sark. And while we're not on here trying to, hype up Texas, I will say that's a bigger jump. You know what I'm saying? So
I would give you that. But look, I'm saying this. Even though they made some replacements, I like the kid that they got out of Houston if he can stay healthy. The kid coming out of Oregon State, whatever is it, Nix or
Silas Bolden?
Okay, you got Holden and Bolden. Yes, Holden and Bolden. So you got the kid from Houston and the kid from Oregon State. You still have a kid. They've got a nice little receiver room as far as recruiting is concerned. I wouldn't worry too much about.
I will say
being
this,
a decent offense, but here's where the deal is. First off, their secondary was trash. It's trash. But the biggest problem is going to be you're replacing Sweat and Murphy, and not just them. Bo Davis is gone. That's the biggest loss for Texas to me, period, point blank, is that if you don't get any kind of push on that defensive line and more, because they have not recruited that position group very well at Texas. If we're talking about recruiting, they've done everything else very well. What they were good when they were good there, it was because Murphy and Sweat were both 3 stars. It was Bo Davis that was able to develop them in a situation where they were a lot better. I don't know what you even get with this new guy that they got from the Dolphins. It would concern that would be my concern.
Well, what I'm looking at is Stat Guy says they bring back 4 old linemen and of course the QB. So let's just say the running game is okay. I'm looking at these wide receiver transfers, and
I'm not worried about the offense though. I'm worried about what do you do on the defensive
I'm telling
line?
you that there may be something to worry about on the offense because Isaiah Bunn, while good, is 5'11". Silas Bolden, while he may have been good at Oregon State, 5'8". I'm looking at the Houston guy. He's 6 foot. I'm like, AD Mitchell was 6'4.5". Who's the jump ball guy in the red zone? Like, what we doing? Like, what I'm saying? Who's the catch point guy? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like,
well,
I mean, Isaiah Bunn has lethal speed, but who's the go up and get it 50-50 ball guy? And if and now they don't have a lot of games where they're playing elite defensive backs, but I'm just saying, like,
well, they've got 2 games for sure that they play elite defensive backs.
Right. So it's like if not Black, like Tottenham says, let's just say he holds on to that trend like he was at Alabama, not learning the playbook, so they can't really count on him. I don't know. I think he'll get a little bit better under Sark. I don't know how much
Sark
better.
Isn't going to allow that. He's not going to have him on the field if he's not.
And see, that's what
he won't have him on the field. That's one thing I'll say in favor of Sark is he don't play that shit. Why would you?
Right, because he knows too much about offense to have you on the field not playing. I will say they got a little bit better at safety. I've always been a fan of Andrew Makuba.
Makuba's good, yes, no doubt.
Right. I want to say he's originally from Texas anyway, going back home. It's a money year for him. So they got a couple of edge guys. Linebacker Kendrick Blackshire. I don't know how much he played at Alabama. I mean, he did have to go to practice, and listen, you learning under the GOAT, you might know something. So, but I think the biggest questions, like you say, are on that defense. So,
right. Well, I would say, I mean,
their schedule helps though. Their schedule helps.
It does a bit, yeah. And I mean, look, let's just kind of take a look here with what their depth. Now, you were talking about their receiver room. The guy that I think that could be an X factor for them at receiver is Jonte Cook. He's a sophomore, came out of Duncanville. Dude's a stud, straight up a stud. He was one of he's a 6-footer. You don't have that big 6'4" possession guy.
Right.
Athletically speaking, the dude's a dude. You know what I mean? Like I'm a Jonte. I think that Jonte Cook is really good. Now
they got some burners, but
the back that has caught any balls. But that was one of the things. Jordan Whittington was a big, tall guy. Of course, Jatavion Sanders. Probably there might have been one better tight end in the country than Jatavion Sanders.
You know.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, of course we know. The point is, I don't worry about them offensively anyway. My concern would be, okay, and even if you're better in the secondary with Makuba and some of these guys that they brought in, if you're not getting push, you better be really good. It doesn't really matter how good you are in the secondary if you don't have pressure on a quarterback. They're going to find the hole. You know, they're going to find an open position. That's the problem to me. I'm not worried about them on offense, them on defense, what they're going to have to deal with. And if they're thin on the defensive line anyway, or they're not even as good as we think they were, or we think they might be, which is a good question, what's going to happen then? Because you're going to have to go up against, you're going up against a experienced, there is experience on Oklahoma's offense. There's a hell of a lot of experience on that Georgia offensive line. Texas A&M is going to come in there ready to kick your ass. And look, for everything that everybody said about that defense last year, even with Murphy and Sweat, you didn't shut down Oklahoma then.
So going based off of history, you know, we got to give it to Oklahoma and the Red River anyway. So let's just say this. Red River lost, Georgia lost. Do you think 10-2 Texas makes the playoffs?
They don't make it into yes. No. Okay. Yeah, I think so. I think that would be your two. I think you probably play for still the SEC. And if you don't, even if you don't, I think you still.
Okay. Yeah.
I think you still are in that top 3 or 4. I figure you get 4 from the SEC if you have a multiple 10-2 teams. Don't you think?
Right. I think so.
But I don't think that they get in at 9-3. I think there's a couple of SEC teams that could get in at 9-3. Oklahoma being one of them.
Because of the strength of schedule.
Because of their strength of schedule.
I got you.
Texas isn't one of them. But I also look at Texas' schedule. You've got the Michigan game could be a loss. I'm not saying it's a loss. I'm saying it could be.
Right.
And
you're looking at that OU, Georgia, and Texas A&M as possible, like, for losses.
Texas A&M for sure. I would tell you this. I think one of these 3 schools is going to beat Texas.
Okay.
And it's in the same stretch. Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky. One of them is going to get them.
That's tough. And they all at home too. No, Razorbacks on the road.
Leading up to, first off, Kentucky though being at home, but that's the week before the Texas Bowl. There's the Texas championship game with them and A&M at College Station. So that's kind of, it has a trappy game feel to it as well.
Right.
Florida, I think you could overlook them. I don't know that I think Florida's as bad as everybody else does. I know that you know, it is what it is. I don't think that Florida's going to be as bad as everybody else does. Now, at this point of the season, we'll certainly know what that is.
I think the combination of the schedule and how Florida is going to make it come to fruition on what I think of Florida. I think Florida is like a 7-5 team because
but 7-5 isn't getting Billy fired though.
No. I don't think so. You know, I won't be able to stay anyway. But
no, you do.
But you know, because of the schedule and where games are, you know, they could technically be better than they were last year, which I think is for sure possible, but still have a similar record, that type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that because of the schedule. But listen, Texas is playing Florida coming off of Texas will be coming off of a bye week, but Florida will be coming off the Georgia game. That kind of thing that hurts Florida. Like you play Georgia, and then the very next week you got to fly to Austin and play, Texas at home. Like, and then it's not like you could put all your eggs in that basket for Florida. The next week you play LSU at home, and then you play Ole Miss, and then you go to Florida State. It's like they have literally no weeks off.
Stat guy, I love you, bro, but you got to stop saying stuff like that. when you're a South Carolina fan, you can't say stuff like that. Gum on the bottom of the shoe. I don't want to hear that coming out.
You got to think. Kentucky and South Carolina is like it's an unspoken rivalry, bro. They don't like each other at all, though. They don't like each other at all.
And I'm not saying that. And I think the Kentucky boys, I mean, not many people are going to badmouth Kentucky that much right now because of what they've done under Mark Stoops.
Right.
You know?
Right. Kentucky's a hard-nosed team. That's the thing about it. And you can't go into that game like, we're just going to blow Kentucky out.
You guys can think whatever you want to think as far as what they are. And I'm not telling you that Arkansas is going to win the SEC. They're not. Bobby Petrino is going to have something for those folks. There's going to be somebody that they reach up and bite. And they've beaten Texas, at least the last 2 games that they've played against them. That's a rivalry for them, an old Southwest Conference rivalry. Right. They're not afraid of Texas, and they get them at Fayetteville.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know, man. If they are dropping those kind of games, then
I think that if anybody's going to make Taylor Green look good, it'll be Bobby Petrino.
Right. I liked it when he was at Boise State, to be honest. Like I watched the kid. I think he's like 6'6", dude, you know, and
big kid can run.
He's a strider. He's a strider too. So yeah.
He's not super accurate. I don't think you have to be against Texas. I think you got it. And I would also tell you that again, Bobby Petrino will scheme something up for them and put them in a good position there. I'm not saying that they're obviously not more talented than Texas is. That doesn't always matter. Right. And it is a rivalry game that they'll be up for. I think Arkansas is going to be better than a lot of people do. I'm saying one of those 3 will get them. I do think that they lose the A&M game myself. I mean, you could say that's my bias on it or whatever. I'll give you that. But I know they're not beating Oklahoma, and I know they're not beating Georgia. So at the very minimum, they're tending to – if they don't at least lose one more –
right.
You know, I'll buy a freaking dinner for numbnuts or whatever if they don't lose at least one more. They're not winning 10 games. That's the other thing is last year was the first time in a decade's worth of coaching at SC, Washington, and now Texas that Sark won 10 games. See, they call him 7-win Sark for a reason.
Oh man, I will say this: if they don't win 10 games, I think that is on Sark because they have the talent to do so. Now, if they can't put it all together. That's on the head. That's on the guy running the show. So they got a much easier schedule than some of their opponents on their schedule. They got an easier schedule than Georgia. They got an easier schedule than OU. They got an easier schedule than Bama. I mean, not Bama, but Florida for sure. So a lot of these guys, you know, gonna be more, but that also says it's gonna be a lot of these teams are gonna be more battle tested than they are as well. So
Vanderbilt will be Arch's first
stop.
I'm not.
Man, that's tough right there, dog. You said you was gonna be out of there. Oh man, that's tough.
Well, there's so many ways we could go with this and I could sit here and beat the crap out of freaking Texas all day. We won't.
They'll take care of that themselves.
That storyline itself, the Arch Manning thing,
right?
There's more to that than you think there is. I don't think that Sark has any inkling to try to start Arch Manning. I don't think he's going to have a choice if he comes into the Vanderbilt game with 3 losses already because maybe they lost to Michigan. He may not come into the Red River game if they've lost to Michigan without them screaming for Arch Manning all over Austin.
Ooh, that's tough. Ken Ewers is one of the top Heisman guys.
You remember Major Applewhite, don't you? We all remember Major Applewhite and Chris Sims. And that was Mac taking care of that, and he still caved in and played the guy that he shouldn't have played.
Texas is a school I wouldn't want to coach at, bro. I'll just keep it a buck with you. I don't care what you tell. Like I thought it was a mistake for Charlie Strong to go there.
Shit talk. They are not a blue blood as far as being worth a shit anytime since the invention of helmets.
They have boosters and the guys that's given to the program have way too much say so, bro. Like
it's a nightmare there. It's a friggin' nightmare. I've had 5 players that I've coached that have all played at Texas, and it's the stories that I've heard from my ex-players. It's wow.
You know,
wow.
You know, because when Charlie Strong, he had a good thing going at Louisville, dog. He took that job, and his thing at Louisville was his career. The thing is, it was his pipeline to Florida as far as recruiting. And Florida's like there's states where you get stuff from. Florida's the state you get all your speed and athleticism from. So that's how he recruited. And I heard stories that like a lot of the money people was like, nah, dog, you take the 3-star out of Texas before you take the 4-star out of Florida. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
But that's what he couldn't recruit Florida like he wanted to. It was like they wanted their Texas kids. And I get it. Texas is great for football,
career,
but certain stuff, certain stuff, you know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't wish that. I would, if I was a coach and it's like, I could be a coach at, Kentucky and the Texas job open. I'm like, nah, I'm good, bro. I'm going to stay here in Lexington.
I agree.
Where the expectations are minimal, bro.
I wouldn't take the A&M job either, but I agree with you too. I think that it fits a guy like Sark that is, he loves being that. I think it definitely fits a guy like Sark. I really thought, to be honest with you, Tom Herman, they'll love to tell you that it was a shitstorm when it came to Tom Herman, but he was winning, man. He was starting to finally get them pushed into that direction to where I don't know that I think that Herman's great as far as certain things, but they were certainly a lot more physical and that kind of stuff. But to me, I don't think Sark is the guy that I can understand them getting. Who they should be getting is going after a guy like Kyle Whittingham or Lance Leipold or somebody like that, and they'll never go for that guy, which is why they'll never be that program in my mind.
Right. Coach Chicken say they used to hold all the kids back a grade just for athletic purposes. That's crazy. I mean, I know some parents do this, but like that's. Listen, I always say, dog, regardless of what state you're talking about, I just like you can look at the high schools and what y'all put in the money and the just the resources in high school football. It's just bananas in Texas, dog. Like coming from South Carolina, bro. I can't even imagine, dog. I saw the picture of I forget. Starts with the M. They just redid the stadium.
Melissa Stadium. Yeah, that's where Nigel Smith went to school.
Furman University is 30 minutes from here, bro. Like from my house, that's like it puts like Furman University Stadium can fit inside that stadium.
Listen, that stadium, crazy. And they're a 4A program, I think. Melissa.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, I think they are.
Man, when I seen a couple of years ago, I seen one of the high schools had an indoor practice facility. I was like, throw in the towel.
Well, Coach had an indoor practice facility here in New Mexico, man. That's nothing.
Bro, but I gotta tell you, Coach, I came from Texas where we had all the indoors, and the first thing I told them when I came to New Mexico, I'm not coming unless we build an indoor facility, and that was my number one thing. And I got to tell you, not only did we have an indoor facility, our weight room was better than the weight rooms at University of New Mexico and New Mexico State University.
Facts.
Right. But that's the standard in Texas.
Right. We're just now getting to that point here. Like where y'all were then is where South Carolina is just now.
4A schools in Texas have unbelievable facilities no matter, and I've seen 2A facilities that kill a lot of small colleges.
Right, like Spartanburg High just spent $25 million on facilities, which is like kind of unheard of. And they're like I say, where Texas was high school football wise, 10 years ago.
Right. Well, and I have to tell you, I've been here in Hobbs now for 21 years, and Jason will tell you. Hardly nobody had turf fields.
No,
nobody had.
Now everybody does. Coach changed a lot of things in New Mexico by himself,
and it was just because I brought that Texas influence to New Mexico, and
you sell
Coach. And I got to tell you, one of the things that when I came here, I was the highest paid coach in the state of New Mexico. Before I'd ever even coached a game, and so all the coaches were pissed off at me because I mean I was playing guys that had won numerous state championships.
Right. Yeah, but New Mexico is not Texas. It's not the same thing. Right. They wouldn't have had your record in Texas. That none of those.
But my point to them was, don't be pissed off at me jump on the bandwagon and go tell your administrators.
That's the first thing I would have did. That's the first thing. I was like, this dude over here getting X amount of dollars. I got 2 state championships. What's up? I'm either going to help him or you going to pay me. What's up?
Exactly.
I've told Coach this a bunch of times. There was the people that were pissed off at him or whatever, and in Hobbs, you can say whatever. This is a basketball town that we're talking about, a basketball town that should be very, very good in football, but rarely ever is. Right? So,
right. Yeah.
And he didn't win a lot of games because it was, at that time, it was as bad as it could possibly get as far as strength and what they were trying to do. Coach changed things in the entire state, but particularly Hobbs has had better football teams since after you left the job. And you stayed another year or two, y'all might have won a state championship.
Well, I'd left the year that I had my best football team is the year I got out.
Right.
So that kind of tells you how smart I am, Coach I.
Sometimes, I think that there's always got to be there's got to be a guy that falls on the sword sometimes for things to kind of change.
Yeah.
Culture-wise in certain places and stuff like that. Now, I don't think they capitalized on it here in Hobbs necessarily. They've been better at times why have they been better? Because they've went and got coaches from more successful programs around this state too. They probably should have went back to the Texas if you ask me.
But I tell you what, but it goes back to that model too of, our kids are stronger. They're bigger, faster, and stronger because of the facilities that we were able to put out there for them. And we created programs down in the junior highs. Coach, when I got here, we had a high school team, a JV team, a freshman team. We had 3 middle schools where we had 3 7th grade teams, 3 8th grade teams. And when I left here, we had our varsity, we had 2 JV teams, 2 freshman teams. We had multiple 7th grade teams, multiple 8th grade teams, and it just exploded.
Right. And
that's why they've gotten better.
But all of those things, though, and I think what we were trying to equate this all back to was what it's like at all that stuff in Texas is one thing.
Yeah.
Texas and Texas A&M have, I'll tell you who has benefited from that the most is Oklahoma. Oklahoma owns the state of Texas, just so you understand that. Coach, it's just a fact. Coach Switzer used to always say, listen, we love Texas, and Texas kids deserve a chance to play for championships. That's why they come to OU. And it's not wrong because
a lot of truth. It's a lot of truth.
For all that shit that they talk and all the many, many advantages that you have of being at Texas, what the hell do you have to show for it?
Oh, a lot of truth to that.
2 10-win seasons in 15 years. I'm sorry, guys. I just don't buy Texas. That's just all there is to it. I don't buy Texas. I have to see more from them. I think that so many things would have to go well and just according to plan for them to repeat what they did last year. I don't see a way in hell that goes down. I don't see a way in hell that all goes down. All of those things. Now, they do have a very good schedule with which they should be able to go out there and win 10. That's why they won't.
Yeah.
That's why they won't. Because it looks good. Everybody has expectations. Expectations, sometimes they don't go well for certain people. And Texas is one of those folks. Okie Light's another one. The Okie Light will bite you in the ass when you don't expect anything out of them. When you do, they fall flat on their face. That'll probably happen this year too. I'm telling you, Texas and Okie Light are very similar in that way.
I think
but for all those resources,
okay, state is if Gundy's going to be committed the whole season.
Yeah,
he wasn't at the beginning of last year. Y'all told me, you know what I'm saying, until they start winning. It's like, oh, let me go do my job, and then he
depends on how the crops are. Depends on how the crops are going, Coach.
I gotta get out of here, fellas.
I know you got to go, Coach. Hey, man, tell everybody how to find you, and you're going to join me up tomorrow morning on the
right. So, man, y'all can find me on Fanatic Sports, man, YouTube, Twitter, IG, Facebook, man. Morning shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays, breakfast tailgate with Coach I. I'll be joining Jason in the morning on Rise and Shine College Football, though. So y'all make sure y'all check us out.
Thanks for coming in and joining us, Coach, man. We appreciate you.
I appreciate y'all, man. Have a good one.
Listen to you, Coach. You got. I always love listening to what you have to say.
All right, man. Hey, Jason. Oklahoma State's winning the Big 12. I'm out.
No.
That's it. I mean, let me Cody happy and everything. I don't give a shit what happens in Big 12, to be honest with you, but I don't see that happening.
Hey, speaking of that, Jason, what kind of Tuesday is it today? It's I don't give a shit Wednesday or Tuesday.
Hey,
and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday.
Who gets the credit for the play like a champion? It's Stephen G trying to start shit right here. Hey, and for that, and I hope Ryman Lemon's still in here because he's been begging for that. But I see that we're working at trolling on Coach Roybal a little bit.
You know what, guys? Oh, hey, in a nice way, fuck y'all. We don't give a shit.
I finally got that up there for you guys.
It.
Yeah. Gundy sold 60% of his land plus that. Oh man, it was Taco Tuesday, and I forgot. That's awesome, man. What? Thanks for what? Oh, Coach R, who's your player that played at OU fullback?
Mike McKinley.
Yeah, Mike McKinley was had a real OU started it, and he made it famous. Okay, yeah. So that's the play like a champion today. First off, I don't know why we worry so much about stuff like that, because you know who else has done that? Probably every other team in the damn country.
Exactly.
And there's always something. These traditions and stuff like that, it's great, but you're going to take it one place to the next. And I mean, look, I would tell you that for everybody, for all you Texas fans, that you do realize that Darrell Royal is a Sooner. So you named your stadium after a Sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you know what? Going back to who made it famous, at the end of the day, guys, coaches are the worst of anybody in the world. We're going to steal shit that works and sounds good and plays. We're going to steal plays.
And why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Hey, all I can say is thank you, OU, for that sign. I love it.
Listen, yeah. I mean, look,
hey,
it is what it is. And there's not a love loss. There's not a lot of love loss between Coach and OU and Notre Dame and OU versus the other way around. So the one thing I'll tell you is that you guys like to pick on Coach, and I love it that you pick on Coach a little bit.
Oh, I do too.
But there is a lot of respect especially for BV. And we've talked about this a lot. There's the other reason that I'm going to give people for why I think OU definitely beats Texas this year and is going forward will be more successful than Texas and Sark will be in the SEC. I don't care. I get it. The schedule sets up for Texas to do what they're going to do and to be the team.
It does.
They recruit so well. None of this is new. But something that guys, I would have been on here earlier. I was working on my column. I hadn't got enough sleep the last few days, and I fell asleep and was just late. I'm just going to tell you.
And I called and woke his ass up.
But I'll tell you this, something that, and I was kind of reworking my column around and stuff like that because I was trying to get it out today. But I would tell you that I keep hearing all this shit coming from people about why would you extend Brent Venables now? And, he hadn't done nothing to earn it. That's what Cody said the other day on the show. And,
no, he didn't.
He went a little nutty with it. He hadn't earned it, this, that, blah, blah, blah. You can talk about 16-10 if you want to. You can talk about 6-7 and blame Coach Venables because you know what? Coach Venables doesn't put it on Lincoln Riley. I'll do it for him. That 6-7 probably, if Lincoln Riley was coaching that football team, they don't win 6. I'm saying that football team that he inherited, because they didn't inherit the best parts of that 11-2 team from the year before. They inherited the young guys left over that he didn't try to take with him or didn't go to the NFL draft or somehow otherwise get out of there. You had over 40 players that were gone out of an 80 freaking 5-man roster. That's a lot of players, to include 2 5-star quarterbacks. A defense that wasn't very good was 13 guys off the depth chart gone. And it was a shitty defense to begin with. Yep. The guys they got back, Danny Stutzman, loved that he came back. Ethan Downs, these are guys that now matter this year right now, but they were not, if they were important players on that defense, it was because they sucked that bad. They needed to develop to the point that BV's developed them to. And their leadership is so instrumental in what's going to happen on this defense this year for Oklahoma. Agreed. I guarantee you that. Between Ethan, Billy, and particularly Danny Stutzman, and I would also say Woody Washington, man. I love Woody. I think that the talent's caught up to him in a big way, right? The other 3 guys, not as much, but the talent's caught up to Woody. I'm going to tell you this. That 6-7 team would not have won 6 if Lincoln was the coach of that football team, period. They would not be ready for the SEC in any way, shape, or form. And every time I hear that he didn't deserve that, number one, think about what they were doing. I wanted to bring this up with Coach Ion. I'll bring it up with him in the morning if somebody in here will. Oh, here we go, numbnuts. Thank you. I appreciate it. So he doesn't develop. They won 2 national championships. They played for 3 more while in his 12 years at Clemson. They put 3 freaking guys in the same first round of the draft in 2020 from the defensive line that he and Todd Bates, another Oklahoma coach, developed. Isaiah Simmons was a mid-level 3-star, and he became a top 5 pick in the draft. They don't develop. Teddy Lehman, they don't develop. We could talk about all the guys that were at Oklahoma, and you can say whoever you want. You can talk about Bob Stoops or Mike Stoops or anybody else. Ask all those guys from those defenses how important Brent Venables was to their development and them getting to the NFL. Gerald McCoy, Tommy Harris, biscuit short of a linebacker, Roy Williams, Teddy Lehman, Rocky Kalmus. We could go on and on and on and on about those defenses that played at Oklahoma during the early 2000s. Facts. Don't tell me that they do not freaking develop, because the ones that don't develop are the guys that you like, numbnuts.
Sark. Well, and I have to tell you guys, and it's no secret, I'm not a huge OU fan.
No.
But I will tell you, I am a huge BV fan.
Mm-hmm.
I truly am. I
think you got
he,
more alone time with him at media days than anybody else there.
And he's. I'm going to tell you. I go back with BV when he was an assistant coach, and I tell you what, him and I had a lot of long conversations about football and just life in general. But I'm going to tell you, number one, he's a good man. Number two, he's a hell of a football coach. And number three, he's developing into a big-time head coach.
Yeah.
And I truly believe Oklahoma is going to be very successful this season.
But
because of
no matter what this season
right.
comes, what would you say about the long term? Because this is something I wanted to have
over the long haul.
Yeah.
I believe over the long haul, he's going to get the program back to the glory days and being just an incredible football program again.
Fact.
But I'm going to tell you this, and some of you probably y'all might pass out. I don't know, but I'm going to tell you, I believe OU will be one of my top 12 teams this year, and I see them, even with the tough schedule that they have, I see OU being in the playoff this year. And a lot of people, I've said that to a lot of people, and they kind of chuckle and laugh at me, and make the statement, "Oh, you must be an OU lover." Well, no, I'm not an OU lover. I'm a BV lover, and I believe in what he's doing. I believe where he's taking you guys is the right place. But I truly believe that y'all are going to be in the top 12 this year.
Yeah.
And I know you probably didn't expect that coming from me.
I don't know that no, probably not. But I did expect that you were going to. I know what you think about Coach Venables, though, for sure. Right. And here's what I would say. I've seen a lot of this, generally speaking, the times that I interact with Clemson fans is when I'm busting Dabo's chops a little bit about what he's not doing at Clemson right now. But over the last week, since that first video, we were talking about BV and him being that guy. I've had a lot of Clemson fans that have jumped into the comment section and stuff like that and talked a little bit about that stuff. And I would tell you that I've never heard any ever, for as much slander as BV gets from knuckleheads like numbnuts, right? Or anybody from Texas for that matter. And a lot of times from people from SC like they know. You know what I mean? But not even them, just your average everyday SEC pundit, writer, whatever that, yeah, they saw Clemson do what they did and all that stuff, but there's just not a lot of respect for what Brent Venables was and did as the defensive coordinator there at Clemson. Some of these folks really do, though. These folks at Clemson, they flat out love him. What did this lady say? They were talking about that to a man, and I hear almost the same thing from him. He's going to win. He will elevate. I'm happy for him and root for him constantly, except if he plays Clemson. This is almost verbatim what you're going to hear from all of them, right? The consistency of that. With Cody, what he was saying the other day, and he wouldn't answer this, but I was like, when have you ever heard one of his players, as hard as he is on them, when have you ever heard one of his players badmouth him? Ever. Here's the answer. Never. It doesn't happen. Gerald McCoy would run through a wall for him today. Tommy Harris, same thing. Ask Teddy Lehman, what does he think? All of them will tell you that. There's offensive guys that will tell you the same thing. Is he crazy on the sidelines and all that kind of stuff? Does he curse? Yeah, okay. They don't give a shit. Coach, say it, please.
I don't give a shit.
And I'm telling you now, these guys believe in him. The guys that they're bringing in, the way that they are recruiting, not with flash, but by telling you over and over, and that's something I am working on, a piece that you guys are going to love, you Oklahoma fans. The more I go through and look at this stuff, and I'm going to get to your super chat here. Stink ass cat, I appreciate you, bro. But
absolutely,
the more I look at it, you continue to hear over and over and over and over the same things out of Coach Venables' mouth. If you don't want this to be the hardest thing you've ever done, don't come here. He's not begging players to show up at Oklahoma. They're showing up because they want to be developed. Numbnuts is such an idiot. Bro, when you start that trailer park stuff or the other bullshit that you were saying, that's when you get in trouble. Don't say stupid shit like that to me. Damn it.
Incredible.
You can disagree with me on here, guys, all you want to. When you start talking shit about inbreeding and trailer parks and crap like that, when it comes to Oklahoma, I'm kicking you out every damn time.
Agreed. Amen, brother.
I'm not doing with it. Shit. All right, let me get to the super chat. My man. Hold on, let me get to the super chat.
Go ahead, Coach. Go ahead. Look at that. Golly.
$50. Thank you, Stink, man. I appreciate you so much. There is plenty of respect from people that know football, that really know it. And that's not wrong. That's, as I said, Coach doesn't come in here as one of those guys that's a big lover of Oklahoma football and everything that it is and what it's about. He does respect Coach Venables. And I'm telling you, at Big 12 Media Days last year, he got more little alone time in a corner than anybody there, period. Other than maybe, Turnip Seed got more. But Turnip Seed had to pull him away a lot of times. He loved Coach Roybal. Coach Roybal, man. And it's really good stuff. But I would tell you that you can believe what you want and think what you want. I'm telling you that this program is moving in that direction to be an elite program in the SEC. Does it happen in year one? I don't know. It's going to happen. It's going to be one of the elite SEC programs. They will be right going after that. Thank you, Stink, for the super chat. We got another one here from Chicken. Thank you, Chicken.
Chicken!
The Antichrist. And numbnuts wearing on his head. I love you, Chicken.
I love Chicken too.
Thank you for the super chat.
Awesome.
You are my guy. Stink said I just pissed my pants.
I love it.
Guys, I appreciate the super chat for sure. But guys, the bottom line is this. It's the reason that I believe and know is the same. We heard it all over and over and over from folks at Clemson is, and it's why I said that if Dabo were to leave, whether it's on his own or they were to get rid of him, the first person they go to is Brent Venables. I promise you that. It coincided with him getting there that they started winning at that level. And it coincided with him leaving that they started losing at the level they are today. That's a fact.
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to mention to.
What's your connection?
Was my connection to. No, you're good. Well, my connection to Notre Dame through Texas. First of all, my connection to Notre Dame came from when I was about 6 years old. I loved watching Notre Dame football, and it grew in me from that point forward. And I just love Catholic. Yeah, Catholic is part of it. I am Catholic, but I got to tell you, even if I wasn't Catholic, I'd still love Notre Dame football from that time period. And I'm one of those guys, when I latch on to a team, I'm on. And unfortunately, I'm a Cowboys fan too. And I love to hate them and I hate to love them. But again, that's my connection. And also another connection is, they recruited the school, the biggest school, Skyline, where I coached. I was the head coach. They recruited us quite a bit. We actually had a kid that went and played there from Skyline by the name of Alan Rossum. Alan went on, played in the NFL, played for the Eagles, played for the Cowboys, and so that's another connection. And then the relationship I had with those coaches that recruited Skyline, I still have some of those relationships with some of those guys. So that's my
and the other thing I would say is, when we talked about this a long time ago, you talked about your dad loved Notre Dame. I went to school there, but I'm telling you that why do I love Oklahoma football? I grew up, we have a lot of family from Oklahoma and we spent a lot of time there growing up, but I lived in New Mexico. Didn't really have a reason why I had to love OU except for my dad and me. And I remember Jamel Holloway and the Boz and all those guys in that 85 season. I was 9 years old, and this is when I really got to where I was loving college football. And it's the way that you bond with your parents. This is a hilarious deal, by the way. Thank you, Bishop Frank, for gifting that membership to Trojan.
Yeah.
to Trojan Fight is the one that got the membership there. That's hilarious stuff. And we got another super chat from Chicken. My man, the next shot is on me. He says, Coach, shot is on me. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you, brother. You're my guy. That's hilarious. Grew up watching Notre Dame because my family was Catholic, and I think a lot of people, that's the fact, right? I think coming from where we come from in Oklahoma and some in Texas is the same, but I would say this part of New Mexico is basically Texas. A lot of folks aren't Catholic, and they might even be anti-Catholic in places around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you get a lot of that kind of stuff, which is why a lot of people don't like Notre Dame. I understand that. Whatever. I've always respected Notre Dame. I remember really liking that team that Rocket Ismail, when they lost that game to Colorado, that Ismail got the punt return called back. I remember that game sitting in my grandparents' house, and my granddad was not a Notre Dame fan at all. And that granddad wasn't an Oklahoma fan at all either. And he was but my other grandfather was an OU fan. Both, and so we had a lot of families and stuff like that did, but it was with my dad on the couch watching these games every Saturday, the games we went to throughout the year. This is how you become a college football fan. This is kind of what that column is kind of morphing into, but I just wanted to say that. However you become a fan, I don't like it when people say you have to have gone to this school or done this or done that to be a fan. I think that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard of. First and foremost, how many people would have been able to afford to go to a place like Notre Dame or Oklahoma, for that matter, or USC? Right. It's we're talking 50, 60,000 a year now to go to USC, something like that. Oklahoma's like 20. It's a lot, right? Notre Dame's probably similar, 50, 60 grand a year. It ain't cheap. So there's not a lot of people that, and the Okie Light fans always say that. And when half of their folks didn't even finish high school. So I don't want to hear that shit. Half of the fan base didn't finish high school for Okie Light at Stillwater. Sorry. Not sorry.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, I do have a question for you. So I saw where Trojan Fight said that he went to Del City High School for a year. Now, how far is that? Do you know, or maybe Trojan?
That city is right there.
But how close is it to Ponca City? How close is it to Ponca City, Oklahoma?
The chat will know that much better than me.
Trojan, enlighten me on that.
Ponca City?
And Ponca City, Oklahoma. How close is it to Del City? And I've got a story for you on that, Trojan.
Yeah. See, and Keaton, this is right. Look, we grew up, but we didn't go to a ton of games. We went to a few as we were growing up. As I got grown up, we went to a lot more. And so it was really cool. Ponca's by Tulsa, isn't that right? Ponca City?
I'm not sure.
I want to say that's about right. And if that's
I don't remember.
Probably a couple of hours at the most, like 150 miles, right? Tulsa?
Well, so I'm going to tell you a funny story.
75 miles is what Eric's saying.
So I'm going to tell you a funny story. So I played my high school football in Perryton, Texas, up in the Panhandle, and from the time I started playing,
25 minutes. Bishop Frank says.
There you go. From the time I started playing in the 7th grade till I graduated my senior year, we lost 3 football games. And that was, but we played Ponca City, Oklahoma. Okay. So Ponca City comes to Perryton to play us.
So it's 100 miles away. Okay.
And their big breakthrough sign says, "Where the hell is Perryton, Texas?" And that's their breakthrough sign that they run through. Well, we commenced to whipping their ass. Okay. We kicked the shit out of them. And then the next year we have to go to Ponca City, and our cheerleaders make a big run-through sign that said, "This is where the hell Perryton, Texas is." And we whipped their ass again. So I just thought that was a funny story.
And you mess with the bull, you get the horns when it comes to Texas high school football sometimes, man. I'll tell you that much. Shit.
The Perryton Rangers,
they're good,
Perryton
man.
Rangers,
they're still really good, right?
Mike McKinley, running back from OU.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they've maintained.
They got a good program
there. Yeah.
And okay, all right, we got you. Thank you for that answer, guys. I knew we'd get the right answer there. I didn't remember where.
Thanks, guys.
Because my family, I was born, of course, in Muskogee, and then we've got family around Moore, Oklahoma City, and that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, not OKC, right? Okay, yeah, I didn't know. I was trying to remember it myself. I kind of get lost in that area whenever, even having gone back there and all that time. I mean, you pretty much kind of stick in one little area anyway. But I know, man, we spent a lot of time in different places growing up as a kid. But it's, I don't remember it all as far as where they were and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But I love Oklahoma. And it's a lot of small towns. It's kind of similar to what it's like in this part of New Mexico and in Texas. I mean, Texas is really spread out and rural in a lot of places. Once you get outside of the Metroplex and even maybe down in Houston and San Antonio area, you got a lot of little bitty towns that are 30, 40 miles apart, and you settle 5 to 10,000 people there or whatever, right?
In Perryton, Texas, where I grew up, we would drive 7 miles north, and we would be in Oklahoma, and we would drive another 25 miles, and we'd be in Kansas.
Uh-huh.
So within, 40 minutes, you've been in 3 states.
No doubt. No, it's the Panhandle's a trip too. And you know the stories about the Oklahoma Panhandle and all that. It was kind of no man's land out there.
Yeah.
It's a wild ass stories that I've heard about that stuff, man. But
stink ass cat. You were you're a Guyman Tiger, stink ass cat. You're shitting me, a Guyman Tiger. I'll be darned. I love it. Yeah, we played a few ball games in Guyman. One of my favorite places around Panhandle State University up in that area. They had a place called the Library. There at the college
library.
At Panhandle State.
That in Albuquerque
that
too,
was
man.
and it was a bar. Just so you could always call home and say, "Mom, I was at the library.
I was at the library
late last night."
That reminds me of a place.
Elk City. Oh my God! Grew up in Keys, moving. I know all those places, guys. That's
no doubt.
I grew up in that area.
That's cool.
Boom
man.
Squad.
What's up there, Boom Squad? Thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate everybody coming in. We've been going for 2 hours though, and we started late. I apologize for that. If you want me back in the morning, I'm gonna have to get work done. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap it for the night. But again, and look, I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We've had a lot of people in here watching it, so I think we've done pretty well with it.
Did we wipe our feet? Did they wipe their feet, Jason?
Let's see. We have 39 likes out of 400 views. Not really.
Come on, guys.
That's 10%. That's a 10% number. I don't know how many people are watching how many people might be watching on Twitter at the moment or whatever that we don't get like numbers there. I need to figure that whole deal out. Kind of. We got another super chat from Stink Yes Cat. There's a 2-headed calf in the museum in Goodwill.
Goodwill, Oklahoma.
Goodwill, Oklahoma. Yeah. Let's see. Mile marker 232.34. Lawton, Fort Sill, Oklahoma to Ponca City, 190 miles.
There you go.
Okay. Cool.
Hey, what's that great restaurant in Lawton, Oklahoma? So you guys tell me that before we get off. Smoky, is it Smoky Joe's?
Smoky Joe's. I like
Smoky Joe's. Boy, that's a great place.
Yeah. Listen, and that's the thing is I I love good food places and stuff like that are not these chain restaurants that you're running into more and more, even in everywhere these days. I like those old, like around here where we are right now. They used to have the ranch, where these good, just like a little diner, almost very similar to what a Waffle House or whatever is, chicken fried steak and eggs and stuff like that. I love shit like that.
And Jason,
do a special stream. Go ahead.
No, I was going to tell you, Jason, my heart was broken today. They shut down Hooters in Lubbock.
Oh, did they
broke
really?
My heart. Yeah.
They
closed it down.
But they got Twin Peaks over there, don't they?
Yeah, they got Twin Peaks. But I got to tell you, the wings at Hooters to me are just amazing compared to those other places.
See, I'm not a Hooters wings guy. I think that the wings at Buffalo Wild Wings are way better.
And I like the Hooters ones. I like that crunchiness.
Yeah, but I don't. I always like naked wings, so that makes sense. That does make sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Well, and my grandson, he told me. I told him about it today. He said, "That's okay, Papa. We can still keep going to Twin Peaks." He said, "You can have chocolate milk."
We know what the grandson is loving about Hooters, and it ain't the wings.
He told me, he said, "Papa, you can either have chocolate milk or just regular white milk." Oh, Jesus.
That boy is a trip. Yeah, look, I'm a wing guy. I like wings. And then honestly, Wingstop is really good. If you're just going for wings, where Wingstop is probably better than both. But yeah, it just kind of depends on more. Best Hooters in Clearwater. Yeah, that's probably the original one, right?
Yeah, the original. Yeah.
Those are cool. But yeah, I don't know, man. There's some wing joints that are definitely better than these. But once they turn into a chain restaurant, then they're not gonna be that great. Buffalo Wild Wings has suffered since early in its inception. So I think that I like Wild Wings.
Our B-dubs here in Hobbs
sucks. Yeah, I don't even go there. And
I
can be there every day. It's right down the street from where I live, so it doesn't. I mean, 10 feet. Well, after I left Hobbs and went to Midland and was over there, that was my spot. And was Buffalo Wild Wings. I loved it. So, I don't mind. The drums at Buffalo Wild Wings are probably better, but I like wings. I'm a guy that you learn how to pull the wings and you can eat them right. Then their wings are really good. So I'm a fan of that, but you gotta learn all that stuff.
Let me show you something, Bishop Frank. Either one's fine.
Facts.
Either one's fine.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you there. I'm not showing you on my belly, okay? But just so you know, we know what you like about Hooters. Hankster says we know what you like about Hooters. Yep. Here we go.
Same thing at Twin Peaks, brother.
Nice way. Fuck y'all. We don't give a shit.
Oh.
I truly enjoy green chili on my way home to Oklahoma. Yeah. So where do you stop? Are you talking like around Albuquerque? So off of I-40, you'll stop somewhere and get green chili. If you can get Hatch chili, if you really like green chili, you got to get Hatch chili. That's the best. There's nothing like the chili down in the southern part in Hatch for sure. But all that stuff, it kind of depends on what you're getting. But really good Barker chili from Hatch is insane.
You know what, Jason? You won't believe this, Jason. And, hell, we're having a conversation here on the show when we see each other here in town. But there's a guy in Lovington that sells the chili that Anderson is his name. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Great chili. And I like mine spicy.
Farms in Roswell's like that. The Race of Farms is like that. They have a place, Haldeman Farms in Artesia, similar to that. They have, these are farmers.
Yeah.
But aside from that, you don't really have a lot of chili farmers anywhere but Hatch, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of the spot where they do it, and they're very good at it. But Artesia, Roswell, they have a lot of farms and a lot of agriculture like that. So there's some places that you can get it for sure. But there's not a ton of farming that goes on in the state other than a few areas, right?
You're right.
But yeah,
but they'll mail it to you.
This is real Mexican food here in New Mexico. Real Mexican food in a different way than a lot of people will have it. So it was. What about Belen? Belen, they probably have some pretty good Mexican food spots. If you're up around the Belen area, well, I would tell you to go to Sadie's in that Albuquerque area. That Sadie's, if we're talking about restaurants and good stuff, Sadie's is probably the better one that has multiple restaurants. A lot of people will, the Garduños they like, but it's no. Sadie's is
if you need restaurants, you just let me know, because I know the good New Mexican restaurants. One of them in Albuquerque is Maria and Tito's, and it is incredible.
Forgot about that place. Man. I love it.
So I'm into all that really big time.
Hole in the wall places are the best, right?
Yes.
And I was saying, like, Sadie's is really good. It started off as a hole in the wall. They now have 4 or 5 of them. It's not so much. It's more corporate, but it's definitely better than some of the other ones.
It is.
But you can find, look, here's the deal. Just go somewhere and you can hit on your phone a map and look for Mexican food. Look for the one that doesn't have any reviews and it's small.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be unbelievable. And a lot of people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why would I do that? I want a place that no. You don't want the place that's been reviewed. These are these little old ladies.
Hole in the wall, baby.
Their whole life, and they will cook different for you than you've ever had. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Mexican food in New Mexico is second to zero. Guaranteed.
Absolutely. Hey, Stink Ass Cat, Jason, where's Stink Ass Cat from?
I think he was saying.
Where do you live, Stink Ass Cat?
Where do you live now? Yeah. So you're a truck driver, it sounds like, right? Got to be holes in the wall, right?
Yeah.
I grew up on Tex-Mex. Tex-Mex is, You really?
Can't do Tex-Mex.
Oh, still in Texas, brother. You're killing me, bro. It's definitely different. The red and green chili is different for people, I think, a lot of times. But Tex-Mex is similar to what they do in New Mexico. You just have some differences. If you've never had asado, and they'll call it chili Colorado, other places, that's not what it is. Asado is unreal. Pork and red chili. But again, I would agree that, like, going to Vegas, I hated Mexican food in Vegas. Mexico's not that far away. It sucked. This is just a different style that they.
It's completely different. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, there's even, living here in Hobbs, in the southern part of New Mexico, and the northern part, which I grew up. My family was from northern New Mexico, in Las Vegas, New Mexico, and Santa Fe, that area. And so that's a whole different flavor of what we get in the southern part of the state, and the Tex-Mex piece.
There's some differences. Yeah, and some of them are subtle, but if you have eaten a lot of different Mexican food, you can tell the differences. And the further you get away from this area in New Mexico and Texas, I think the harder it is to get good Mexican food. But I agree, to each their own. It kind of depends on what you like. But the little hole in the wall, and Hobbs is like that. I think there's little places here that you wouldn't know the name of them. You just need to find them. And generally, if they've got a sign outside that says horchata on it or something like that, go in.
If they say horchata, if they say menudo,
yes,
pozole, if they say pozole,
tortas, yes,
tortas, you're good. You're good. Yeah. I tell you what, I'm gonna put a plug in here, Jason. La Fondita here in Hobbs is my favorite Mexican food place in Hobbs. They are incredible. I eat there at least 2 to 3 times a week.
That's awesome,
good stuff.
Dude.
Good stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing worse.
Matter of fact, Jason, we need to go to lunch.
This whole Sooner in Texas thing, the mole sauce doesn't work for me. That's why I don't do California, that Baja. I think they call it Jalisco stuff. I'm not a fan. Not a fan of it.
No. I don't
love
do the mole.
What I do like out there, and it's probably more than I like it around here, is carne asada. I like carne asada.
Yeah.
But that's about all I can eat when it comes to Mexican food from that area. But mole, no. I'm good on
Hey, I tell you what, guys, I can cook you some damn Mexican food, some northern New Mexican food that I learned from my mama. I can cook that shit up, brothers.
Well, don't fall over yourself doing it, Coach. There, you know I'm right here, 10 minutes in front of you.
Well, that's what I was just saying. We need to get together and go have some lunch.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, we live in the same town. The most we see each other is on air.
It's rare. It's rare, yeah. All right, guys. Yeah, we've been going for a good while though now, and Coach, hold tight for a second before you go. But guys, I appreciate everybody coming in. We will be back here in the morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time. It'll be 9 a.m. in Oklahoma. So yeah, excited and look, we're gonna continue going. I'm gonna finish up that column and get it out for you guys because it's important to me. I've been wanting to really kind of get that going, but we got some stuff coming up. I'd like to get more interaction. What I love the most about what we do is this interaction that we get. I love it. We interact with each other right here on the show all the time. I don't know that we necessarily have to do much of a mailbag because of the fact that we get so much interaction here and after the show. You'll get a lot of stuff, people talking. But we're going to make it, give you ways to do it either way. You got to get in there and check out the official show merchandise store, hofmedia.us/pod-merch. You can already see on your screen right now some of our designs that we have up there. The Oklahoma versus the world, our 4-Pete stuff, obviously the competitive depth t-shirts. In fact, I've got this little overlay that we have as well. Horns down gear. The competitive depth, you can see we've got one design that has the beer mugs behind the competitive depth part, and the other would be red Solo cups that are in. Those are, obviously in honor of Toby Keith. So jump on there and do that. Look, that's probably the best way that you could help us. That, or if you were to get started with Mint Mobile, that's definitely a help for the program. But buying our official show merch, we actually, and it's cheap. The t-shirt, we're keeping the shirts really cheap, but we make a bigger margin on that kind of stuff. If you want something, certain designs and things like that, give them to us. We'll make sure you have it on there. That's why we did the competitive depth ones. Let me know what you think about that one but jump in there and check it out anyway and just kind of take a look at it. We had more sales on that site since it changed to that fourth wall than we hadn't hardly sold shit all year. So it's good to see that we're starting to get a little pickup there. I appreciate Bishop Frank for kind of pushing me in that direction as well.
Good.
And the gumbo is always fire in here, man. And whether it's Mexican food or gumbo or whatever, we are fire right here. Right, we're fired. This is a fire show. I love doing it, Coach. I appreciate you coming in and appreciate you waking me up to get me down here.
Hey, I just love it. And Jason, I can't thank you enough for getting me involved in this. You're the one that got me going, and I love it. I love all the people that come on the show, and golly, y'all are awesome. Even when you dig at me about Notre Dame, I still love you guys. Y'all are incredible
in a nice way.
Yeah, and I do, and I take it that way. I really do.
Yeah,
I take it that way. But no, I love being here. Thanks for coming. Guys, please share us with your friends. Get us more people coming in.
By the way, hold on though. We hit 3,500 subs today. I forgot to say anything about that. I would love to get to 4,000 before the season starts. I don't think 500 more is a lot to ask.
It's not impossible.
August 31st. No way. We've hit 500 in a month, so we can happen for sure.
But it's going to take you guys to help us do that. And you know what, Jason? If you remember this, last year when we were at the Big 12 Media Days, we hit 2,000 when we were in the swimming pool.
So we've already hit 1,500 more in less than a year.
So if you guys can help us get another 500 people in here in the next month and a half, we'll have doubled in 1 year.
Bishop Frank, that's definitely what the column is about, is this family. We talk a little bit about that a lot as well. And the family that is Oklahoma football. But this family of what we do on this show It is a family. And I mean, we know each other very well. We're getting to where we answer each other's questions or finish each other's sentences, I should say. You know what's going to be coming. I know it. I mean, I kind of laugh about, I was thinking about the other day. I said, whenever I can't just say stink ass cat, it's stink ass cat every time. I don't know why. I can't help it. It's just, it's got to be that way all the time. But yeah, this is definitely a family. I love it. Definitely love you guys and thank you for coming in. Coach, you know I love you, man. Appreciate you.
I love you too, brother.
For everything. And we will see you guys in the morning. Make sure you show up here, right here, CFB-pod. Go check out go check out that merch. Check out our Mail Rig Performance Golf Wear. And you should probably get signed up with Mint Mobile. Try mintmobile.com/HOF. But just make sure you've hit that like button. Thanks a lot for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.
Love you guys.